Hello and welcome back. How are you today? Thank you for tuning in. I'm here to share some uplifting nuggets of wisdom with you, hoping that they will ease your path. My name is Rosine, and I support people on their healing journey. Emotions are natural. They are a quintessential part of being human. If we didn't have emotions, we would resemble a robot. If you think about it, if you just strip away all the emotional, the warmth, the movement, the joy, the happiness, the sadness, the impatience, the anger, anything, you would look like a robot. And the question then is, how can we relate to our emotions and deal with our emotions without turning into a robot, and at the same time not having the emotions get in the way, which is often what people experience, is that they feel that they have all kinds of emotions getting in their way of being their best, of doing what they really want to do, of doing their relationships the way they really want to be doing their relationships. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the purpose and the natural flow of emotions today, because that helps us understand how we can work with them at this point in our lives, or maybe we have a bunch of unresolved emotions stuck in our physical bodies. So as a child, in the ideal scenario, when a child has any emotion, really any, positive, negative, doesn't matter, ideally that child is being validated and supported to fully feeling the emotion. And when a child is supported in that way, it naturally feels the emotion all the way. And when it feels the emotion all the way, guess what? The emotion just evaporates. It just dissolves into thin air and kind of goes away, never to return in that particular form. Because emotion is simply an energy. It's emotion, energy in motion. And our bodies have a natural circuitry where that emotional energy moves through. And every time that emotional energy moves through us, it changes us. It naturally evolves us. It evolves us from being a baby to being a child, from being a child, an adolescent, from being an adolescent to being an adult, and so on. There are emotions always at the service of our own development and our growth and evolution. So what happens when a child is made wrong or criticized, or simply being left alone, which is a lot of times the case, where a child feels alone with maybe a very big emotion, like maybe the child is super angry or super scared, and there's no one there present with the child to give it the support it needs to actually feel the emotion. And when we don't have that support, I'm sure you have felt that at times where an emotion just feels too big, too strong, and it feels like it would be overwhelming if you allowed it to be fully felt. And so we revert to just kind of putting the emotion aside and distracting ourselves with something else, and we don't feel the emotion. And then that emotional energy, rather than moving through us and evaporating, it gets stuck. It just does. And over time, the more emotion that has not been felt, that has not evaporated out of our being, that emotion kind of accumulates and it piles up and it creates blockages. It actually creates blockages even in our thinking, in our being, in our work, in our physical well-being, really in every imaginable way. That stuck emotion, when the energy in motion can no longer move, it creates trouble. So that is why, as an adult, actually, I do not know any adult who went through a childhood where they didn't accumulate unprocessed emotion. In other words, everyone has stored up and stuck stagnant emotional energy in their bodies. So we now need to ask ourselves, how can we release that in a way that is safe, that is respectful, that is efficient, and that really contributes to our own well-being and is respectful of the people around us. Usually, emotions are a direct response to a thought, right? We might think a thought, and right after that thought, there's an emotion as a result of that thought. And that is naturally very true. However, I do believe there is also additional emotional charge, if you want, stored in the body that doesn't need a thought to be produced, because that emotion is just sitting there and has been sitting there possibly for decades. And any little thing can trigger that emotion and set us off. So what we need to do is learn how to move that stagnant energy back into a flowing state. And when that happens, you will be very, very positively surprised as to all the gifts that the emotion actually has for you. Every time we feel an emotion all the way, the emotion is like, I don't know, a benevolent being who not only came to evolve you and change you for the better, but also to deliver gifts. And these gifts can be insights, they can be revelations, they can be inspiration. So every time you take one of the stagnant energies out of its storage room and you transmute it back into fluid, liquid energy, as in emotion, you're going to receive a gift every single time. And it is quite beautiful. And not only is there a gift, but it also, there's a tremendous relief when an emotion can finally be released. We are not always aware of how much energy we use to keep these energies under wraps. And when we finally can let go and move it out, that relief is very relaxing, and the energy that becomes available is really great. Like, we can use that to do the things that matter to us. So as an adult, then the question really is, how are we going to do this in a way that is safe, effective, and respectful to ourselves and those around? And the next few videos are designed to help you with doing exactly that. So thank you very much for connecting and listening in today. I appreciate you taking your time to tune in, learn something new, and rise above. Much love to you always.